So I finally got a new microphone, and this microphone is the N4H207B ZX Spectrum, I think. I'm not too sure. Basically, it seems to be quite popular in the ASMR community, and since I have a DLSR camera, Nikon 7000D or D7000, I can never remember, the old dyslexia. So I picked it up to use it as a shotgun mic on top of the bass unit, and then maybe make some ASMR videos as well. I'm more inclined to stay behind the camera than be in front of it. Like they say, the camera adds 10 pounds, it also adds about 20 ugly. So I thought it would be best just to give you a nice empty screen with blackness or whatever I may put up there, just to relax and listen to, because I personally just like to listen to videos and am visually triggered so much. So to beta test this mic, I thought I would do the alpha tag. 1. Favorite fighter. So for me, that would be Barry McGuigan. As a kid, I grew up watching him box up in Northern Ireland in the hall. I can't remember, Ballymena Hall or something. I can't remember. But I never actually went to see him live, as I would have been too young, and I would have caught it on the telly. So back in the days before pay-per-view. So in Ireland, generally, most people had two channels, RTE1 and RTE2. The more sophisticated people also got the British channels, which would be things like UTV, Channel 4 and BBC 1 and 2. So a lot of the boxing back then would have been on ITV or UTV as it was called in my area, and you'd watch Barry McGuigan box the head off some lad, and you didn't care who he was fighting because it was always come on the McGuigan. So my favourite beer, I'm not a big fan of beer, but I like the wheat beers. So favourite action movie, so many to choose. RoboCop, always RoboCop. I'm a big fan of RoboCop. A very large part of my life is me wanting to be half man, half machine, all cop, and that was yesterday, and I'm pretty sure that'll be tomorrow again. The reboot is due out in February. I'm looking forward to it from the point of view that I want to see more RoboCop on the screen. RoboCop 3 didn't frighten me away from the franchise like a sensible person might be. I said no, make RoboCop 4. I must have been alone in the shouts at Hollywood because I was ignored. Now we have a reboot. I'm really happy because it's a reboot. It means RoboCop will be on the screen, even if he looks absolutely nothing like RoboCop, and I'm sure he won't be anything like RoboCop, but at least he'll say thank you for your cooperation. And his other tagline, come get some. Your move, creep. Moving swiftly on. So my favourite old school action star. Well, I guess if we're talking US stars, there's only Arnie, even though he's Austrian. But if we're talking world cinema, it would have to be Jackie Chan, because that man had the moves, he had the humour, and he was mental. That guy would jump off anything, hang on to anything, and swing around everything. He was nuts. Watching his movies when I was like 14 was like, I suppose, doing some sort of serious drug that involved a television and punching people. It was incredible to watch. Got me into Kung Fu. Admittedly, I was nowhere near the skill of any proficient Kung Fu person, but I kicked and waved my arms with the best of them, and it was good fun, even if I was completely uncoordinated and ended up falling over most of the time trying to do spin kicks. But wow, Jackie Chan, what a man. Favourite modern day action star? Well, I'd have to say this is fairly hard. Scratch. There's not many out there that I consider true action stars. You've the stuff like Tom Cruise, which his Mission Impossible of the Year movie, Jack Reacher. Then you have Matt Damon in The Bournes, which I actually thought were actually quite enjoyable. But realistically, I guess Robert Downey Jr. would be the only true contender, with Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and Iron Man 3, The Avengers, and of course the Sherlock 1 and 2, being some really good action movies he's been in. I still don't consider him an action star unless the action is drug use, but that's a little offside, as I think he's moved on from drug use, drinking alcohol, and carrying around shotguns or carrying around handguns into his neighbours' houses. I love that story. He was crazy, and I think he still is. What else do we have? Free weights or machines? Ooh, the true dilemma of our age. I'm guessing it really depends on what you're trying to do. Free weights are technically better, but they're more dangerous and harder to go heavy. If you want to go heavy, I'd use a machine. So the way I'd go with my workouts would be, machines would build up the core muscle strength for the actual muscle I want to build strength in. Like I said, the other way around. So hit the machine, get the muscle nice and strong, and then I'd probably drop some weight and go free weights, knowing that the major muscle is there and I just have to build up my stabilizers. So a lot of the times is if I wanted to do you mind, Mr. Water Drip? I'm busy here. I'm talking to people on ASMR. Thank you. So, as I was saying, you want to basically go with the machines to build core strength in the muscle. Trojans or Durex. Tough call. I'd say wear both, because you don't want any accidents. That would be a complete ruiner on your life. No one wants to be writing the old child benefit checks in their 30s or 40s or 50s or 70s or any age. Just wrap it up good and proper. Double bag it, as they say. Although that expression generally means one bag for your head, one bag for her head. So I don't think maybe it's applicable for this, but it might be. Blondes, brunettes, or redheads? Again, one of these things where you kind of go through phases. Well, I've never been overly a fan of blondes. You got Marilyn Monroe, who makes it work. Brunettes, probably mostly brunettes. And then you have redheads, who in Ireland you've got quite a lot of, and they're generally very pale, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just there's probably too many redheads in Ireland. Not that there's anything wrong, that they're soulless beings or anything, ginger mingers or whatever. No, that's just not right. Let's just say brunettes. And so Kate Beckinsale, I think she's a brunette, unless she's blonde. That's the thing with women, they just dye their hair. That's what I was going to say. It's not so much about the hair colour, but it complements her complexion. So you want a woman who kind of has the whole look going on. The hair colour is just one part of the look. So let's not forget it. If ASMR has taught me anything, and it's taught me far too much about female skincare, makeup, lipstick, and hair colouring, and getting a haircut. I know things no man should know. And making this alpha tag, it's very odd. After watching what I've seen in ASMR land, I'm a scarred man. Sometimes I don't think I can call myself a man, but I do. I'm a man. Honest. Favorite deodorant or body spray? My favorite is the cheapest. That's right. I'm a classy guy. For me, it's all about cheap. Now, if I'm not being cheap, it means I have a nice lady friend and she's recommending I wear this because she says so. And if that's the case, I do what I'm told, because it's just not worth fighting over. She likes the smell, we keep her happy. But if I had any say in the matter, we might be going with a wood scent, oaks. I like that barky type thing. It's also good in wine and good in aftershave. Boxers or briefs? Well, boxers go with sweats and briefs go with jeans, and sometimes, well, you just go commando. MMA or boxing? Well, I suppose growing up I had boxing. MMA is relatively new in Ireland, and you generally don't have a lot of fights that are MMA on the television unless you watch the US stuff. So I'd go with boxing. And again, I'd say Kung Fu more than boxing because of Jackie Chan, and Bruce Lee. Nike or Adidas or Adidas, depending on where you're from? Well, as a brand, I'm more about me Under Armour. I love the Second Skins or whatever. No, wait, that's someone else's brand. I'm a big fan of the compression gear. So things like heat gear, cold gear for when I go running. And if that is Nike or Adidas for runners, well then I'm more of a fan of Skechers, simply because they make my running shoe, which is the Go Biotic Piranha running shoe, as it says here on Amazon. Yeah, it's a bright luminous colour, like all sensible runners should be, because when you're running, nothing says speed like brightly coloured shoes with Go Faster stripes. Metal bands. Favourite metal band? Well, I suppose it would have to be Guns N' Roses. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of metal, but it's better than some of the things out there. I like my power ballads. And of course, the king of power ballads, Meatloaf. And I don't know what power ballads are, because it should be power ballads. Or ballads, yeah. Power ballads. Meatloaf, king, rock. He would do anything for ASMR. ASMR, but he won't do that. And that's like a lot of the ASMR artists, they won't do that if you ask them. Favourite hip hop artist? Again, another, and there's so many. Just Vanilla Ice, baby. Not a fan of the hipping and the hopping. I like misogynistic lyrics with the best of them, but I'm sick of popping cap in people's asses. For some reason, my bitches and hoes don't like me referring to them as bitches and hoes, so I'm not a fan of singing the hippity hoppity at them, because I get a slap, and getting slaps ain't fun. Well, maybe they are, but we won't talk about that. Dream car. Ooh, so if we would go supercar, or do we go an actual car I'd like to drive, or a mixture of both? I suppose for me, the Nissan GT-R or 35 or R35. I like four-wheel drive cars due to the even power distribution, and they're less likely to spin out when you put your foot down. And we all want to put the foot down, and that's what it's all about, is putting the foot down. Playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto and those car games, those rear-wheel drive cars, they spin out. You can't run the cops in a rear-wheel drive car. It's just too dangerous. You go into those corners really fast, and the back just wants to spin out. Now in my GT-R, I've absolutely no problem spinning around the corners in places like Monaco. GT-R from GT6 for the business. So it's also technically not a supercar, where you got your Ferraris and your Lamborghinis, which would probably be cooler in quotes, boobs or butts. I think really either or. I'm not a big fan of either. Not that I don't dislike either. I'm not overly partial to either of them. I'm more about a pretty face. The body shape ain't that important. Big boobs. Angelina Jolie or Jennifer Lopez? Jolie, I'm afraid. Well, not really afraid. It's not a great choice. It's lamb or mutton. Angelina, I suppose. First saw her in a movie called Hackers back in the 90s, rocking a really short hairdo that was very nice. I wouldn't be a fan of the J-Lo. Nah, doesn't do it for me. Jenny on the Block, no thank you. I'm more of a fan of Sandra Bullock, Elizabeth Banks, Amy Adams, and of course one Miss Christine Applegate from Married with Children. And like most sensible kids and teenagers in the 90s, I grew up watching the show, and Christine Applegate was always very nice and pleasant to look at on the screen. Actually watching the show again recently, Peggy ain't that bad either. Favourite scent on a woman, sweet or floral? I'd have to go floral, because anything that smells like food just confuses me. Like, hey, shut up. See, I think of sweet smells and food, my tummy gets rumbly. It isn't good. You're out with a woman smelling the old sweet smells, and you're there, rumble, 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 it's time to eat. Speaking of which, steak or fish? A nice big porterhouse when I'm hungry, or a fillet if I'm just doing a bit of food connoisseuring, at my local cheap quick and dirty diner. So if you are Irish, you know filet is pronounced fillet, because we have no idea how the French language is meant to be pronounced. If there's an ET at the end, that means et, and we fillet it. Tasty fillet of beef. That's right. We know how to order a beer, a whiskey, maybe sometimes wine if we're sophisticated, but when it comes to our meat, we have fillet. Jeans or sweats? It's a tough call. It depends what I'm up to. If I'm sitting around the house, it's sweats. If I'm going out and about, it's jeans. I wouldn't really wear the sweats out and about, because as a fat kid, I used to have to wear sweats everywhere because I couldn't get jeans to fit me. So anytime I wear sweats out, I feel like I'm being fat again. So it makes me cry and sad. It's scarred me. A little part of me dies every time I put on sweatpants. The wee babby in me, it's just sheds a tear. So favourite colours, over the years there's been quite a few. Starting off with things like orange, moving on to black. Technically it isn't a colour but a lack of colour, but I won't let that get in the way of my favourites. I like the colour black. Then I moved on to purple. So right now my favourite colour is purple. Why? Because I like the colour purple. It's one of those things where if you try to analyse why do I like something, there's no intellectual response to a colour, it's just an emotional one. And emotionally I like purple. Intellectually I don't like colours, because they serve no purpose other than to like fill the screen. It's hard to have a world without colour. I'm sure the colourblind people would disagree, but hey, that's not me. Favourite gangster movie? I suppose, well, there really only is about three. Once Upon a Time in America, Godfather, and Goodfellas. So I'm going to go with Goodfellas, simply because I think it's a bit more memorable of the three. And Depeche Mode, Joe Depeche Mode, yeah, that actor guy, he's pretty cool in it. He's good. It's also got that other one, De Niro. He's also very good in it. Plus, people get killed with guns. That's good. Gun killing in movies is always entertaining. Don't let anyone tell you, like, if pacifism ruled Hollywood, there would be no movies, or they'd all be watching Gandhi. Good movie, Gandhi. Don't get me wrong. Good movie. Not enough killing. Actually, there was quite a bit of killing in Gandhi now that I think about it. Yeah, forget that. Gandhi was a good movie. Good killing in Gandhi. You should watch Gandhi. Forget these gangster movies. Go watch Gandhi. On that note, we come to an end of the alpha test. Wait, Mike test alpha model 2. Charlie Unicorn November Tango. I just said a rude word. Oops. Shh. Whispering you to sleep. This is me signing off, 'cause I'm crazy. Bye bye. Oh man, I wasn't recording.